It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
We kick off a new week of podcasts with the same black eye. I got asked so much over the weekend about the black eye. It's on last Wednesday's podcast, covers the black eye gate. Today, we are going to talk about a very awkward parenting moment. I've got a mistake I made as a parent. Shout out to one of my buddies who's doing something very cool. Kelly's, what are you into? We're going to dive into the beverage world for that today. And it should be entertaining, I hope. But my black eye is still here. It's not going anywhere. And like I said, last Wednesday's episode, you can hear how I got it. I'm going back to the well tonight. Basketball is tonight, Monday night. I'm taking the black eye with me. Going to try to leave without one, or going to try to even it up. Fall for another pump fake, play some bad defense, go over the top of somebody, and go on the left side this time. See if I can't get the total raccoon vibe here on the podcast, because I think that'd be, super cute. Super cute. I did something the other day with my daughter that is now trickled down to my son and was a "what are you doing, Dad?" moment. I like to try to do things. I want to create things with my daughter that are fun for us, right? Like I'm excited for a day where I can do a cool handshake with Olivia Huck or with Woods. And we can have this moment where we see each other and we just, do whatever cool, fun thing we come up with for a handshake. So I like these things that are just between my kid and me. So the other day, one of the dumb things I love from childhood is when you do it's so dumb. It's so dumb. But you do the thing where you put your finger on someone's shirt and say, "Hey, what'd you get on your shirt?" And then, they look down and you pop them in the nose, run your finger up and pop them in the nose. That's a Gramps Woody thing that I learned from him. My dad did it. I did it. It's just going to be passed down from generation to generation from the Widmer clan, and deal with it. So I thought I'm going to try this on my daughter. So I do the thing. I'm like, "Hey, what's on your shirt?" And she looks down and I run my finger up and get her in the nose. And I think it's funny. And she just keeps looking at her shirt. I'm like, "Oh, went too early on this trick. And she's now panicked, and she's like, "It's what's on my shirt, Dad? What happened? What is on my shirt?" And so I do it again, and I run the finger up, get her in the nose. I say, "It was just my finger, neener, neener, neener." In that moment, I created a monster, and I didn't expect it. I thought we were having fun, fam. Olivia, I thought we were having a good time. It was my finger, neener, neener, neener. Neener, neener, neener has hit the Widmer house at a level that is absurd. It's absurd. And it is now, I guarantee, trickling out into the community that Olivia's in. It's probably made its way to school. I'm going to owe an apology letter to the teachers and the other students there. Huck is now saying it. I'm sure he said it at Sunday school on Sunday to some undeserving little kid. We are a neener, neener, neener family, and it is really bad. My wife was not thrilled about it, rightfully so. And now it's whenever it comes up, it's just a look. I get the look from my wife. But we are a neener, neener, neener family, and it's not great. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to come back from it. But I think this happens too much to me, where I think I've got something planned that it's going to be really fun for my kids and me to do together, bonding as father and children. And then it turns into this big thing that now is going to make its way out, and I've got the neener, neener, neener kids. Oh, and too young. Too young. My daughter last night did this to my mother-in-law across the table. She didn't even play the game right. She goes, "What's on your shirt, Nana?" It's like, "Olivia, you're supposed to, come on." And then Lisa doesn't look down. She's like, "What?" And then Olivia just goes, "It was my finger, neener, neener, neener." And it's like, well, it wasn't your... So we're there. That's where we're at. And that's what we're dealing with. Let's dive into a story I wanted to tell since Friday about, there's a lot going on with it. I don't know the best way to tell this story. We're just going to dive into it. My mom, thank goodness for this. This is a great one. Grandparents, if you're out there and you have always wondered what a good gift for the grandkids is, my mom gives my kids a year-long pass to the Children's Kids Museum in whatever city we're in. So when we were in Spokane, we had Mobius in Spokane was what it was called, and we would get the year-long pass there so you can take the kids whenever you want. And here, I forget what it's called, the Explorium, I think it is, in Lexington, the Explorium. My mom got us a year-long pass to the Explorium, which is great because when you have a year-long pass to one of these places, you can simply just go for 4 minutes or 4 hours. You don't have to feel like when you don't have the pass, you go and you need to get your money's worth. So if your kids are tired after 20 minutes, you're like, suck it up. We paid to be here. Uh-oh. We got notifications coming up on the phone or on the computer. I apologize for that. Sorry. But you pay to go, and so you feel like you need to get your money's worth out of these things. Not the case with the pass. So thank you, sweet Mama Les. Thank you, Mom, for this pass. So we go on Friday. I'm like, you know what? Let's get out of the house. Let's go down to the kids' museum. Let's kill some time. Let's run around. Let's get crazy. See if we can wear Huck out a little bit. I love it. So we get there. We get there right when it opens at 10 o'clock, and I let the kids go wild. And I'm excited about this. I'm assuming Friday morning, a lot of kids are going to be in school, and so we may have the place to ourselves a little bit. That was not the case, as when we pulled up, a school bus pulled up, and 50 billion children come piling out of this school bus and are going to make their way into the Explorium. Thank goodness we got in there first. So maybe I'm a bad parent. I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do it, but my daughter is pretty good by herself, and she's pretty independent in this, and she knows the things she wants. So my daughter knows the 4 or 5 things in the Children's Museum she wants to go play with. So the second we step foot in there, she's off to the races, running to see the big tooth thing. She wants to see the little stuffed animal doctor setup. There's a bunch of paper airplane things upstairs she wants to play with. I know her path. Huck, on the other hand, every time he goes in, it's like he's never been there before. He's like, oh my gosh, what is this place? And there's a big river where you can dam off the river and you can throw boats in it and they float down. They'll go different paths depending on where you dammed off the water. And he wants to go there. And it's kind of right by the entrance. Well, I got to be heads up, 7 up, because my kids also love to run out of the front entrance, because right outside the front entrance, there's a bunch of toys that you can buy on your way in or mainly on your way out. And my daughter and my son both want to go out there and play with these toys. Of course, they've got a million toys inside the Children's Museum, but they want to play with these weird squish toys outside of the front entrance where you would pay to go in. So I have to kind of post up by the front of the entire building and kind of keep eyes on things. So my main focus is always Huck. I've got to have eyes on Huck, and then I'm always watching the exit to make sure Olivia's not escaping. Eventually, after Huck gets done with the water feature every time, he wants to find Olivia, and we are connected together, and they are running around together. But I just got to get through these first 10 minutes. So I'm posted up by the front of the museum. I can see Huck. He's about 15 feet away from me, and I can kind of see Olivia further away. She's playing with these fruits and veggies, so I've got her off at about 40 feet. I can see them both. I'm feeling real good, feeling like a baseball player, making sure I know where all the base runners are. I'm loving life. And again, this big school has come in. There's a bunch of parents with all the kids, and they're having a big time. And, hey, there's some moms there who are kind of looking over at me, taking a peek. I'm feeling like, okay, 42-year-old. All right, whatever. Yep, I'm the dad here. I get it, gals. Don't stare too long. And so they keep on looking, and I'm like, oh, and then they just keep on looking over at me, and I'm like, okay, well, now it's a little weird. Why are you still, like, what is going on? And finally, one of the moms comes up to me as I stand at the front of the Children's Museum, trying to keep an eye on both my kids, and she walks right up, and with a shaky voice, she says, "Excuse me, sir, do you have kids here?" And in that moment, everything hit me, because I realized I am the guy standing at the front of the kids' museum with a black eye, wearing a gray sweatshirt that had stains from breakfast on it, jam stains on one side. I had butter from the cinnamon toast I had made my daughter on the other side. I'm wearing these shorts that have got, they're like, I don't know if I've ever washed them. I look not great to be standing at the front of the kids' museum, and all of these parents have been terrified of me, and I've been thinking, okay, well, hey, thanks, what's going on? I have not even been thinking it, and I'm standing at the entrance. I'm the creepy guy at the kids' museum. And I looked at the lady, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's my son right there. My daughter's over playing with the fruits and veggies. And the look on her face as she let out the biggest exhale, didn't say a word to me, didn't say any, oh, that's great, just let out a sigh of relief that her kids were safe, and then just walked away, never to be heard of again. Immediately, all eyes are off me. I'm now just a creepy guy with a black eye at the kids museum, but I at least have kids there. And in that moment, I thought, I can't be mad at you, lady. I can't be mad at you, because if I was on the other side of things and there was me, I saw me standing at the front entrance, I would be like, oh man, someone going to go up there and ask that person to leave. Man, oh man. And there I am. I'm sitting there at the kids museum. I've got my ratty clothes on. And I will say this about the parents of the kids museum. What's going on that we're dressed up at the kids museum? We're all just trying to survive a Friday morning. We're just trying to get through to lunch. Why are people dressed up at the kids museum? It's not like we are going to church or we're going to a kids program or Target. We're at the kids museum. We're supposed to be wearing sweatshirts that are stained and shorts that don't match anything else we're wearing as we all just try to survive parenting. But I've got these gals there that have got their makeup done, their hair's done, they're dressed up in real expensive clothes to hang out at the kids museum. All right, I mean, I feel bad, but also, like, come on. Let's maybe tone it down a little bit as we're all just trying to get through to lunch. I don't have enough time to try to get, first of all, I don't know what it would be like to get ready and try to look nice, but I don't think I have enough time trying to wrangle kids and then be like, hang on kids, if everyone can just be quiet for 20 minutes, I'm going to get ready to go. I would get done getting ready to go and my entire playroom would have marker on every single wall, ceiling to floor. My son probably would have pulled out a ladder and tried to jump down the stairs. I don't have 20 minutes to sit and get ready, to get dolled up, to go to the kids museum. It was very uncomfortable, though. So I'd like to thank this black eye for making me the child. I pretty much, the black eye made me the bad guy with the long nose off of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And that's what I was for a Friday morning at the kids museum. Shall we do it?
Kelly's, what are you into?
I've talked a lot on this podcast about my love for energy drinks. And if you are new to the podcast, we talk a little bit of parenting and husbandry relationship at the beginning of the podcast. And then we do Kelly's What Are You Into? And it's my moment to step away from being a dad and a husband for a second and just talk about something that I'm into that's completely non-parenting and just to step away from it for a moment. And this is my energy drink moment. I have been a Red Bull guy forever, but I've talked about on the podcast how I have been ready to try a different energy drink because there are so many of them. And I love energy drinks. Are they good for you? Probably not. I was doing a little research on energy drinks today because I was like, I want to know like where energy drinks, how this happened. And so it started a long, long time ago in the early 1900s. They were there's a lot of articles about how soda pop, to start with, it was kind of sold because of not even the taste. It was a caffeine alternative to coffee, and there's a lot of caffeine in these things, and so they were sold as something to boost your energy, but it wasn't an energy drink. That doesn't come around until the 40s, 1949. There is an energy drink in the United States that is called Dr. Enough, E-N-U-F, Dr. Enough. 1949 in the U.S. is when the U.S. got their very first energy drink. And it just existed and it didn't really go anywhere and there wasn't a lot to it. So there's not like this big push for energy drinks, but that was kind of the first sighting. Where they get really popular in the U.S. is in the 90s. Now, in the 60s, energy drinks get popular in Japan. They make their way to Europe in the 80s, and in 1987, Red Bull is created in Europe. Eventually, that starts to make its way to the United States. In 1997, Red Bull is like the biggest energy drink and the energy drink of the United States. It's got like a 56 or 60% market share on beverages sold with the intent on being to get your caffeine. It's dominating. Red Bull is, and today, Junior, it still is dominating. In fact, it's 43% of the energy drink world is Red Bull. They own a 43% share of this. Monster Energy is second at 30%. But it explodes on the scene in the late 90s. In 2002, Monster Energy drink gets involved. Of course, if you've been alive, you understand how these were marketed. Red Bull was very much sold to adolescents, and they got involved in like X Games style stuff, and they sold themselves to extreme sports things, right? I mean, just a few years ago, we've got the guy jumping from the edge of outer space to land on the planet, and he does this in the name of Red Bull. Monster Energy drink, of course, all over the place at dirt bike, at any kind of ATV race thing. We know who these are marketed to. We understand how this goes. And they just blow up onto the scene. They are enormous. Red Bull, like I said, 1997 is when it comes on the scene in the United States. And I've been there. I've been there for the Red Bull revolution. I love Red Bull. My sister in college drove, maybe it was high school or college, I forget when it was, but she was the Red Bull gal. She and her friend got a job for Red Bull. They drove the Red Bull vehicle around Spokane, Washington, and occasionally they would let me know where they were going to be so I could go snag a couple free Red Bulls, and it was awesome. And what a great part-time job for my sister. And so I was a Red Bull guy always, and I also liked that it was a smaller can. I switched from regular Red Bull to diet, the sugar-free Red Bull about 7-8 years ago. And I didn't have them a lot, but that's if I had an energy drink, that's what I went with. Now, I love energy drinks. These are things that I could have all the time. They're just, they're not the cheapest thing in the world, and I don't just love to just blow the money on getting energy drinks. But I've made a change. After 20 years of Red Bull, I had been asking on the podcast for the last 3 years for an alternative. And finally, Casey Musgraves, I believe it was Casey Musgraves, on her Instagram story about 5-6 months ago, country music singer. I think she's turned into pop singer, folk singer, which makes me very happy because I want her to sink into that genre of music because I really like that. I think she has the greatest female voice of anyone, and she's got new music coming out in March I'm real excited about. So she had posted a story with a Monster Energy, the sugar-free white can Monster Energy, and I was like, you know what? I'm a sucker for marketing. I love it. And especially if you're somebody that I like who gets sponsored by something. For instance, Damian Lillard got sponsored by Modelo. I went Modelo for a while because I appreciated that someone sponsored a basketball player I loved. If someone that I like is sponsored by something, I try to support that sponsor because I value them supporting a creator or an athlete that I like. I am a sucker for that stuff. I think it's valuable. I think it's cool. And so I saw Casey Musgraves with this and go, I'll try it. I loved it. And now I'm addicted to it. And I don't have them a lot, like I said, but when I do, I'm on that white can Monster Energy. And so I bring it up as my Kelly's What Are You Into because I've been craving them lately. I just have not got one. But I still always have the line out for if there's a better one. Because I will tell you, this one rules. I got to say, in terms of losing your, the sugar-free, which I'm sure is just filled with all the wonderful chemicals that are healthy for my bones and my black eye. I think when you lose a lot of that and go into the zero sugar mode, things start to taste weird. This one doesn't to me. So the chemicals are working. There you go. Let's check in on the comments. If you do not know how to comment on the podcast, you can go to seanslife.com. There's a comment box there. If you're listening on Spotify, there is on the actual episode that you're listening to, there's a Q&A section. You can type in your comments there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can comment on the YouTube video. And we read the comments at the end of the next podcast and react to them. They can be questions. They can be comments on the episode you just listened to. They can be shout-outs to people. I don't care. They can be plugs for your energy drink brand, whatever. But we go through them. Let's start on the website. And we'll start with Snidette, who says, I just bought myself a Switch. Oh, we're going to go video game, Snidette? Wheelhouse. My fave games are platform games, Mario Bros. And puzzles. Bonus if multiplayer options. Okay, I feel you. What are some of your recommendations? Nothing too high speed. My 50-year-old eyes and brain can't keep up. I suck at shooting and driving games. LOL, thanks so much. Okay, Snidette. You mentioned the platform games, so you have to get Mario Odyssey. I'm assuming you have Mario Odyssey, but Mario Odyssey is going to be the ultimate platformer, in my opinion, right now on the Nintendo Switch. It's a little weird because you mentioned you're 50. I don't know your experience with platforming games. I don't know if you've gone into the 3D world of platforming that came around with Mario 64, but this is going to be your platformer. It's going to be 3D though. Mario Odyssey is a killer. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom are the two best games on Nintendo Switch. Highly recommend those ones. There are it's not shooting like you would think of a shooting game, right? We're not talking about Doom or Halo. Doom. We're not talking about a video game from 1996. Call of Duty, Fortnite. We're not talking about that. The shooting is pretty basic. They're not trying to make this very intricate, but there's more of just like using your sword in the Zelda games. The Zelda games are spectacular, Snyder. They are spectacular. Now, if you want to go old school, I would highly recommend looking into, I think it's $6 a month, and you can get the Nintendo, doggone it, I forget what it's called. It's just like the NES or Super NES. If you type those into the Nintendo store, it'll come up. And it lets you play old Nintendo games. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And you can go get some of those old classic platformer games that you loved when you were younger, or that you knew that when you were younger. And they're very fun to play on a portable system. And they're very fun to revisit. So that's a very fun option. Like I said, I think it's $6.99 a month for that. You don't have to subscribe for multiple months. You can just get it for a couple months to scratch the itch. I love my Switch. But again, I highly recommend Mario Odyssey, the Zelda games, as a starting point for your journey and your adventures into the Mario world. I think there is a new Mario game out. I think there was a new one out. And I'm trying to remember what it's called. Mario and Donkey Kong. Why am I not knowing this? This is bad. This is bad that I don't know the Mario games. Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I don't know much about it. It just came out. It might be looking into. I heard Super Mario Wonder. Super Mario Wonder also, Snyder, may be a game you look into because that's more of your 2D platformer game, but for Nintendo Switch, the graphics are a little bit better. So you might want to look into Super Mario Wonder. I've heard good things about it, and it's not 3D like Super Mario Odyssey is. So maybe check out Super Mario Wonder. Okay, that was all. Thank you. The Spokane Rose. The Spokane Rose. Wait a second. Is this an actual website, thespokanerose.com? He put down thespokanerose.com. Paul, is thespokanerose.com a real website? No, it's not. You need to buy it right now. Spokanerose.com. Go get it. Paul says this. Help this old man out. When you post on X, are you tweeting or what do you call it? I think it's going to be tweeting forever. I think if you go to x.com and you post an update, I'm trying to see right now what it says when you type it. So you just type it and it says post. I mean, I guess you can say posting on X. Still sounds weird, right? I mean, because we all think of the drug. Well, maybe we don't all think of the drug, but those of us who have watched any movie that has those of us who have watched Blow or Scarface style movies, we're all thinking the same thing. I don't think you call it Xing any of that stuff. I heard someone today call it excreting. I think you just call it tweeting until Elon comes out and clarifies what he wants it to be called. Because it was a dumb name change to go to x.com. Twitter was great. Tweeting was great. So it's up to him, since he bought it, to name it. But I think tweeting is what I will still call it for the foreseeable future until Elon and the kids rebrand that word. Ian says this, man, I got a bunch of agrees and disagrees in today's pods. This would have been Fridays. I'll add on to the worst sound actually ever variant of uh-oh, that didn't come from you. Wait, what was this? Okay, I'm going to read it. I'll add on to the worst sound it actually every variant of uh-oh, that didn't come from you. I don't know what that leads to. If it's a vomit thing, I will say this. The amount of people who sent me messages on Instagram that said vomit is the worst sound, I'm not going to argue with you there. That's a bad one. That's a bad one everywhere. I keep my kids' songs on a playlist, which is downloaded so that it's always available offline for that reason. And we had the outage on last week from AT&T. Now I'll say this, Ian, this was weird. I've got a playlist downloaded from Spotify on my phone. It logged me out, this outage. I couldn't log into Spotify because there was no connection. So my Spotify went to the login screen and wouldn't let me log into Spotify. So it wouldn't let me access my downloaded stuff because it didn't know what account I was in. Ian, I'm telling you, worst day ever. He says, I agree that older NBA doesn't appear as physical. However, I can see a LeBron flop compilation. See how the NBA has stripped fangs away from defense, wind up with 200-plus point all-star game. Can't say physically when that happens. So the 200-point All-Star game is not a physicality thing. The 200-point All-Star game is a lack of interest in playing in the All-Star game thing. That game is no longer what it used to be. The guys are not motivated to play in it. And I don't blame them because I don't think they want to get hurt in it, and there is not really an upside to them playing well in the All-Star game. I'm not an apologist for this. I know a lot of people get angry about it. To me, that is what it is. And if you want to watch guys score a bunch of points, that's what you're going to get. I don't expect them to go out there, though, and lay it on the line in the middle of the season to get potentially hurt in a game that means absolutely nothing. So the All-Star game, to me, I get what you're saying. It's very frustrating. It's terrible to watch. It's not fun anymore. It used to be great when Kobe's playing defense on LeBron, the length of the court, because Kobe cares so much if he's on the basketball court about winning. These guys do care about winning, but just not in that moment. I think the NBA is solid, though, man. I do think the NBA is solid. Okay, let's go to Spotify, where Yvonne says, was that Rob Sacre that made the comment, or a different Rob? Different Rob, regarding the basketball slamming. Yeah, it was a different Rob. Also, your black eye, also saw your black eye in the post you put on Facebook regarding your podcast. Nice eye, fun times. Yvonne, it's brutal, and it's still there. It's not going anywhere. Speaking of Rob Sacre, we got to give my guy a shout out. North Central, head basketball coach for North Central, Rob Sacre. Crazy to me that he is the head basketball coach for them, but I love it. He took over this year, took a group of guys that was not the greatest team in the world last year, but that had talent, and he's Coach Cartering them. He's Norman Daling them. He's whatever, insert your favorite basketball movie basketball coach. He's doing that. He's hardballing them with basketball. He's taking this group and he's getting them to play together. And what do you know? North Central was the 8th seed, the lowest seed going into the bracket for the Washington State's 3A tournament, and he knocked off the number 1 seed last week. Knocked him off on Friday night, 60-54, and Rob takes North Central into the quarterfinals where they play Thursday, and they'll play Thursday morning against the winner of Rainier Beach and North Thurston, and they play Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, and I'm excited for Rob. He's 3 wins away from a state championship with a team that no one believed in going into the season except for Rob. And I remember talking to him before the season started, and he said, we got a lot of work to do. He's got some really tall dudes who could be good if they put the effort into it. He got the effort out of them. They bought in. He has a really, really good guard who's going to go play at Eastern Washington. Thank you, Rob, for prepping us a dude. And buy in. He got the guy to buy in. And these are high school kids, right? That's tough. It's frustrating. Life's different in high school. And Rob's got them all believing, and Rob's got them playing as a team. And I love Robert. If you've been around Sacre at all, you understand how motivating that guy is to do whatever it is you're doing at the time. I mean, when we would go tubing down the Spokane River, he made tubing seem like it was this big group effort where we were going to win a trophy at the end. And we're just sitting there being lazy on our tubes. The dude is extremely motivational. So shout out to Rob. Thursday morning, 10:30. Pay attention. North Central High School out of Spokane. They've got a game. It's going to be fun. Hopefully Rob, get it done, baby. Get it done. 3 more wins. Russ said this on YouTube. Russ said, hey, Slim, very cool videos. We miss you here at home. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate it. Yeah, the video's on YouTube. You can go check them out. If you don't know where the YouTube is, go to my website, seanslife.com. If you click, man, this is too many things. Go to the website. Go to the podcast link. It says the Sean Widmer Podcast. Click on that, and it has the links to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube right there. You can also listen to the podcast there. Thank you for listening today. I appreciate it. I've got to go avoid a black eye at basketball tonight. Maybe on Wednesday I'll come back with 2 of them.